me tell you something, brother. You better get ready for the tag team event of the century, dude. It's not happening in the ring. It's happening on your speakers with the most bodacious, the most hilarious podcast of all time. Ooh, yeah, dig it? It's a podcast that's more unpredictable than Hogan ratting out Ventura and the boys to Vince at WrestleMania 3. We were this close to health insurance and retirement funds, brother. This close. Oh, wow, Macho, this is what we're doing? Okay. So these two dudes with attitude, they're taking you on a wild ride, brother, all throughout wrestling history. Pay-per-view reviews, watch-along matches. These dudes are the true originators of the madness that Macho Man claims to be all about, Jack. Well, yeah, brother. Well, how about saying your prayers, taking your vitamins, and letting your friend record you bouncing around in the bedroom with his old lady? Well, let me tell you something, Macho Man. At least me and none of the maniacs took Stephanie McMahon to her junior prom. Ooh.
Is Hogan selling the face/throat? Pause.
He said he's selling the face and throat.
I didn't mean like selling face. But I just say that.
So all you Hulkamaniacs and jabronis, grab your vitamins, eat your Nugenic, strap in, and get ready for more grabs than a 5-star Meltzer Classic in the Tokyo Dome, brother. Don't miss out. Ooh, yeah. This podcast's gonna be hotter than a habanero in hell. So grab your headphones and let the madness begin. Dig it? Ooh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the insanity known as the BA and Wiseman show that only means one thing. If you hear this voice, it's I, BADBIC, aka Black IRS, aka the beef of the East, BA Bigelow, Mr. BA, this evening. And with that being said, I can only bring out my partner in crime, do-rags, NDAs, foul language, being abusive. That's none of these things that this man described, but we're going to talk about why those things are relevant tonight. It's the Wise Man. Producer Sean, what's good with your homie?
Nothing is good with what we're about to talk about. Everything is drenched in sin.
You sure?
With nothing but bad thoughts and illegal activities surrounded by it. So nothing is good today, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought that we got the watered down version. The real version would have been what you described, but it was so much watered down and information in general. We had to bring in some specialists. Couldn't just do it with just us two this evening. Had to bring in the whole pod conglomerate, the fellas, if you will. So with that being said, one half of the other fellas that's not normally on this show, he's representing Detroit tonight, represents it every night, pretty much, I'd hope and say. He's usually representing in aisle 9 of CVS, but we don't do that no more. He's graduated. It's none other than
It's the Dub Show. The house that A-Dub knows. Your boy A-Dub in the building. Detroit Dub, because I relocated back to my hometown.
He's home.
And we're going to talk about some Vinny Mac. What's up, fellas?
What's good, Dub? We appreciate you coming through. So that means there has to be one spot available for only one person that could hold it down. He's usually the main voice you hear, the lead mic on the main show. Here, no Vinny indeed. None other than the quasi bad guy, the Diet Coke of evil, the man 7/8 teeth, E-Ray. What's going on?
Gave himself intro music.
I love it. Can only be right.
I'm hired. What's going on, gentlemen? E-Ray, the quasi bad guy, the Diet Coke of evil, this man of 7/8 teeth, all the filth, none the Vinny, no NDAs. I definitely injected Hulk Hogan with steroids right after he lied and said, "What? I never took a steroid, brother."
Me too, brother.
He lied. What's going on, fellas?
Nothing much, Brody. We here to break this Mr. McMahon 6-episode extravaganza down that was blessed our Netflix feeds here a couple weeks ago. A lot of people have broken it down. We figured we would be remiss if we didn't bring it to you guys as we should, because this is some retro stuff here, going back into the archives. They somehow, some way, and I would love to know the story behind this, got the old man to sit down and talk about himself. He never likes to talk about himself, right? So the origins of him wanting to talk about himself all of a sudden, is it like when you like want to talk about your old plays back in the day, so to speak, and you want to just share them and be like, yeah, all right. Makes sense to me. Yeah. So this one time I had it. No,
sometimes you just get really into it. You think you're untouchable at some point, and it's like, you know what? I got mad stories to tell. I'm not going to tell most of them. I'm going to create my own narrative, if you will. And then, lo and behold, history never forgets. It's always there.
Never.
Fucking social studies book chasing them for, I'm coming for you, Vince. And, shit happened. So, I don't know. I think this was very entertaining. For the layman, for people who have no idea about wrestling. So my significant other, we watched it, and she's like, oh, wow, that's good. And I'm just like, yeah, they started on some interesting territory and then ended up kind of in a very predictable lane, if you think about it. And I was like, man, it kind of left me in the feeling of wanting more like candid Vince, and wondering what this might have been without the allegations and all that stuff, or just to see like in this alternate universe what that would have actually been, so I could just watch too. It's kind of like watching the director's cut, or if you go like the preview, you do the sneak preview movies to see what it was before they got audience feedback, from the studio, and they had to change a bunch of shit. So I'm just curious what that cut looks like.
Yeah, Hollywood, you would know what that's all about. You've been to many of viewings before, some big movies before they actually gave us the finished product. So that's a very good take there. Dub, you look like you want to say something, man.
So I think like before the allegations came out, I think this would have been more of a story of look at what this guy did from scratch, and how he beat the charges and then beat his opponents into submission. And
I think it still was about that.
I think, yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah, but it would have ended with that. I think they would have even focused less on the family dynamic and the weirdness of it, because like the weirdness of it becomes like really interesting when the allegations come out.
Back.
Without the allegations, it's just like, sounds like he kind of hates his son, and he had a daughter do some questionable things. So, and I think like the reason Vince did this was he was starting to think about like his legacy in totality, because there have been talks about a Vince McMahon movie for a very long time. And when people do a movie based on your life, you have no say. But when you do a documentary, you have way more say about what gets said about you, because you're the one saying it.
Could you imagine the Lifetime movie version of Vince McMahon's life? That would be wild.
The Lifetime version of it?
Right. Who's playing Vince McMahon?
How does the Lifetime movie of Vince McMahon end? Like, what's the ending for that?
I think NDAs and trials.
Before the allegations, it's just him sitting on his front lawn like Thanos at the end of Infinity War, after he just made $8 billion selling the WWE.
He just sticks a dildo in the ground like, my time is done.
Grab me that Thanks, Mark Henry over there on the back.
I don't need Brock anymore.
After the allegations, the Vince Lifetime movie ends
Strap
like
Lesnar.
Ends with that Faith Evans song. And I'm hopeful. Yes, I am.
Put down my cheek.
Wiseman, what's your overall take on this documentary, my brother?
The overall take of the documentary, it started in like he said, in good territory. At the end, it just kind of became, for me, because we keep up with wrestling all the time, it was just a lighthearted version of what already came to light. Nothing really surprising. they really didn't talk about a lot of the shit that already happened, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I would want to see somebody who like produces Dark Side of the Ring type shit to make one of these, and actually put the real stuff in it. Then I would be, that would, 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome. But this one, shit, I already knew. I already knew it.
Yeah,
So-
it was. I'm sorry, E-Ray.
No, I was gonna say, so that's interesting because I've heard so many things about the Dark Side of the Ring stuff too that is like not the most factual. I think this is the thing that is lost on society. Documentaries are not just factual. They're actually just accounts using facts to shape a narrative of any sort. And that is just how it operates. So again, I think the tone itself, I think it did a good job, but I think the end sort of became, specifically because Vince stopped participating in it after probably the last episode 5, 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, after the first
5.
million.
That they were like, they pulled a Kanye genius. It's like, oh, okay, we're just gonna do headline shit now. And I was like, that's not as compelling because I want to see Vince. And again, maybe I spoke out of turn and spoke too soon because now it looks like he's pulling Dan Schneider, and he's gonna sit down with one of his homies and film a response video to the documentary.
Which is crazy.
Boy,
what
oh
does
boy.
lawyers have to say about that? Like, come on.
I'm sure they quit. I'm sure they were like, yo,
Everybody just quit.
we told you to not participate in the regular doc, and you took that advice, but then you saw it and you just said, fuck that? Yeah, I'm out.
Essentially.
I'm not having this L on my record.
Hey, Kevin, want to make a
I'm
movie?
not having this 1,000-point fantasy loss on my record.
Hold this camera.
Vince, you said I was done holding cameras for you.
It's long
One more
last
time.
For the last one.
That's what you said last time, Vince. Why is Brock here?
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Like, what's crazy with the way that y'all all brought up how it starts great. They get into controversies that I didn't think Vince was gonna talk about, like in the beginning, like that happened in the 80s, like the Ring Boy scandal. Like that's a Dark Side of the Ring topic. I think they talked about that on the season.
And I wasn't really that aware of that.
Yeah,
That was kind of new to me.
the Ring Boy scandal's kind of wild when you get into the crux of the story, and I'm surprised he even brought it up. Just knowing how Vinny Mac gets down. That and then the Rita Chatterton stuff.
Oh, because he said I beat.
Straight
That's
up.
it. That was his
Straight
response.
up. He's all the statutes of limitations.
Right. Even if the statues were up, I mean, you let me see. I was like, wow,
It
this
is what
is
it is.
crazy. Yeah, right. You can't is what it is a grape.
Oh, allegation? Yeah. We'll bleep it, but yeah.
Crazy.
Jesus, Vince. Just out of control.
So imagine, and again, as this might sound sadistic, but I've heard a lot of the things like the 80s and stuff, I think he felt more comfortable talking about. What I really wanted to hear was the stuff that was going on during the ruthless aggression era. That's what I felt like they just kind of glossed over.
I agree.
They slightly mentioned the woman that had or one of the incidents, let's say, that happened with the USO type shows, and then like it was covered up. But a lot of things came out around that time about him, and then even with Trish Stratus, that was she was the only person talking about the thing. Like, oh yeah, Vince was like a father. Oh yeah, he made me kiss him and da 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 da. And that was it. I was like, I want to know what. I think Dub said this, so I'll credit you. He said, I want to know what the mid-carders had to say about this, not the top guys, because they had John Cena and The Rock and all the motherfuckers on that Jay-Z shit. Beans made millions, like all that shit. No, I want to hear from the people who didn't quite make it, that you just basically humiliated or made do something. Do they still hold you as a father figure and hold you in high regard? So I'm very curious, again, like what a Gail Kim would say at this time, or Melina, or some of these other women people that I had never been able to watch because I was out of the product at that time. And I feel like they just kind of glossed over that. It was all the same John Cena ruthless aggression, and then that's it.
Yeah,
we're going PG now, or whatever they talked about, but it didn't feel like enough in that space, considering how much they deep dived into the 70s, 80s, and even somewhat the Monday Night Wars. I felt all that stuff had more nuggets to it than I've ever heard. And then they glossed the shit out of the things. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm gonna get a documentary some bail on that. And the only reason why is because Vince McMahon and others, old heads that were on the documentary, are like the only ones that could speak to that time frame. As far as like the shit from when Vince Sr. was running the show, and like the guys that he was looking at, as far as Vince looked at growing up and his whole childhood story. I think that's what Vince thought he was. I think that's what Vince thought he was giving everybody, as far as trying to show them the man. And then once we got into that era of, because I'd say after the Owen death, that's when it got very cookie cutter to me. It's just the fact that everything was very much like, you could catch this in a YouTube documentary, stuff that we've seen in the past, or not even catch it on Peacock, the stuff that they got, all the content that they've made over the years with these different documentaries and stuff. It was like they just plucked from that type of deal. So yeah, so the most interesting stuff to me as far as growing up was the father-son relationship, that dynamic that Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. had. I had no clue that Vincent Kennedy was picked up at age 12 from his house by Vince Sr., but from his mom's house. No clue.
You didn't know he lived the white American dream?
No.
He just was like, I'm poor in the trailer park. Hey, Daddy Warbucks.
For real. It was like Richie Rich.
I'm rich. I'm your father. Come with me. Bad.
What made him like Vince Sr. want to come back and get Vince Jr.? Like, what was the call? Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back?
They never said. They was just like, Vince Sr. just showed up one day. He was like, word.
The nigga was like, I was eating beans out of a can in my mom's trailer, and all of a sudden we got a knock on the door, and my dad in a nice suit and a big ass Cadillac just pulled up and took me away. So
come on, me.
That's the story from there. And he said, learn the graphs, and you know, from there on, that was history. So
pretty much,
yeah, they didn't give any connection for that at all.
But it's fascinating in itself. Like,
it is. You don't hear of that type of action in the Caucasian neighborhoods of, what was this, the 50s that this happened? So,
I mean, yeah, something like that.
You never heard of this type of stuff back then. At least it wasn't publicized, I guess. Like, it is.
Weird. Better question. Sorry to cut in. Where did he happen to meet his mom? Was she a Graps groupie? Or like, I have so many questions.
Well, you also gotta remember,
because he just left her.
Vince's mom was a ring rat.
Trailer.
You also gotta remember that
the next territory
was one of Harley Race's hoes or something like that.
Harley Race had hoes, boy. This dark side is crazy. This dark side of the ring episode.
He was like, shit. All right,
boy,
I gotta go visit the next territory. And she's like, well, I see you again. Probably not. And then just dip.
Nah, you're not even doing the real deep dive there. When Vince Sr. was in like his prime, wrestling was still a carny show.
You telling me she got on the fucking? She bought a ticket. She was throwing the balls at the milk cartons and was like, "What's that? Let me show you some graphs." Let me stretch you out.
She went to Barnum's and got some Baileys. Yeah.
Oh, babies.
Bailey's in the baby. Oh man, it's tragic.
Oh shit.
But with the childhood that he had, and then the fact that he said his dad only told him that he loved him one time, and that was literally on the man's deathbed.
And then died.
Before he died.
And then died.
Sheesh.
Next
Right.
day.
It was cold that one.
Yeah.
That sums up a lot of the what the fuck about Vince McMahon, I feel like, when you talk about that origin story. That man hated his father. Something serious. Like, which is crazy to me. Like, he saved him. He could have left him there to be in white trash America for the rest of his life.
That's a way to put it.
He also left him there for 12 years.
True. Vince is looking at the glass half full or glass half empty. I get it. I completely get it.
Vince was half full.
And then, yeah, let's be real. Like,
Never mind.
you talk about that father-son relationship.
I'm always full.
It sounds like Vince was ready to kill his father to take the business.
Yes, he was. 1,000%.
He absolutely
ready.
was. Okay, look, in his defense, his father did say he's, you're going to have to kill him if that's what you want. I mean...
No. Vince
like
Sr.
him
never
with
said that to Vince Jr. Vince
He just
Jr.
knew
said
it.
that to
He just
Shane.
knew it.
Exactly, that he's that type of dude. If he's prepared for his son to kill him to take the business, he absolutely would smoke his dad for the Fed.
Oh,
Absolutely.
1,000%.
Cold-blooded murder. Put that
My
nigga in the
father's keeper.
ground.
Easily.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, because when you said father-son relationship, I thought that's straight where you were going. Because when Paul Heyman told that story, I was like, I read all the allegations, and that's the craziest shit I ever heard.
Yeah,
He put a knife to his own chest and said, "Go ahead, do it. Do it. If you want this, that's how you're gonna have to do it. You have
This
to
is
kill
how
me.
you have to do it.
And if you
Why-
don't do
why is
it,
that
then I
crazy?
know you're not man enough to do it, and I have to take that in consideration as well." Nigga, what?
Bar.
That shit crazy to me, man. Like,
Sounds
That's the
like
most
something I would've
corporate
said.
shit I've ever heard, like, in a family setting.
And I
Like,
know you're not man enough to do it, and I have to take that into consideration.
I mean, just
hard.
imagine it. Just imagine what people were saying to Shane at the time. Like, you can take
It's
it
over a
from him.
storyline.
It's
No,
crazy.
not you can take it from him. The whole thing, I believe, Shane was essentially what Vince didn't want him to be, entitled. He thought that because I am the male child, I would inherit this business someday, like you did from your dad, romanticizing what it actually was, him just getting picked up and then grinding every piece of the business. And then, like, Dad, I know you're trying to get out of here. I'm going to buy this from you. And he had to make his dad the proposal. Then even after that, he had to, like, basically shun him. Although he's like, oh, I can't do shit. This nigga's still on my ass. Like, the transition happened that way. So everything he was doing, even trying to revolutionize the business, Vincent Kennedy, his dad was still on his ass about it. So again, I think Shane didn't understand that, and it's kind of like that. I think we all do it. I think we definitely are that way with our parents. So we look at them as like these mythical people, or the things that they did as like this grandiose thing, and then we're like, oh yeah, we'll just do that. Or at least some of us have that same thing, versus what the parents' actual experience was and what that turned them into, and how we may or may not feel that same way because we didn't go through the same things they did. So I think that is vastly the issue. And then while he was thinking it was his for the taking, Stephanie got good at the shit and was like,
On the low.
nigga,
Just
it's
getting-
mine.
She played the game, no pun intended, like as straight up as he possibly
No,
could.
pun absolutely intended. Boom.
She played the game.
Gotta play the
Pedigree.
game. And guess what that started from? It's a lot of creepy shit happening.
Oh yeah, but Vince was saying like how like he was.
You should
Triple H.
probably find someone just like Triple H. He's such a stallion. I mean,
He's such a
not like
stallion.
Triple H, but like Triple H.
Oh shit.
Nothing, honey. But here, in this new angle here, Triple H is gonna kidnap you. He's gonna drug you. He's gonna marry you.
consummate you. What?
All the above.
Drive through. It's the 90s. It's fine.
He a wild man, to say the least.
question.
you were gonna
That's
say,
just
right?
what was on TV.
Right. Yeah, that tells you a lot right there. What was he gonna say, E-Ray?
I was curious, what was the craziest thing that you heard in this documentary? And then let's kind of, for each person, let's pause there, kind of dig into whatever was said. But I'm just curious what the craziest thing, because there was a lot of crazy shit.
Ooh.
That's a rough one. The craziest.
It's hard, man.
Or something just stuck out to you as like, that was crazy.
The shame
So-
bar, no doubt, sticks out.
Oh
to me.
yeah.
But what you gonna say, Doug?
I was gonna say, since we already talked about the shame bar, because like I had to pause it. I was shocked about that. But Vince finally admitting that like he kind of came up with this incest angle with Stephanie and just kind of shrugging it off was like, yeah, probably wasn't a good idea. I was like, yo, what?
Yeah, that's
See that?
up there.
I remember hearing that one. The one for me that I might be wrong about, but I don't remember him ever outright saying this. People for years always said that he intentionally just destroyed the territories for wrestling. I've never heard Vince outright say it until this doc that, oh yeah, they're not, friendly, it's competition. We're gonna destroy them. It's not bad. But when they do it to us, yeah, that's different. Yeah. So just hearing him say that out loud and just admitting it was like, all right, that's a piece of shit right there. Goddamn. The hypocrisy is just, like, how dare that nigga say some shit like that?
I mean,
so, yeah.
He legitimately said, well, I didn't even think about it like that. I did this. And then when they were talking about how Ted Turner was whipping his ass, he was like, I'm just a family businessman.
Independent, small family business owner.
Just basically a 1099 employee. And billionaire Ted is just trying to crush me with his underhanded tactics and his unfathomable wealth. I was like, this shit is... I was like, he's insane.
Victim.
Yeah, he knows how to see. He can turn it on with the best of them, boy.
And he admitted that he was like, I say some shit that I be thinking sometime. And then I'd be thinking something completely different. And then it'd just be like, whatever. Like, he admitted that he's like, oh, I feel this way. I'm going to say this way because I need to direct a narrative to be this. And I was like, that is hilarious that plays back into this whole thing in the first place, or all the controversies with Vince. So yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy, but he absolutely destroyed the territories and then was like, oh my gosh, woe is me. Ted Turner's trying to destroy me and my family. I'm just trying to eat.
Speaking of Teddy Turner, one thing they brought up that I'd never seen before in my life was Ted Turner reacting to the Billionaire Ted skits. They ain't never shown that footage before. That was pretty cool. To see him live reacting to it. Right.
Yeah, it's easy to laugh when you're winning.
Yeah, I'm beating
crazy.
This shit.
Come here, Macho Man and Luger.
Right.
Open my Snapple. Like, that shit was great. Sure. All jokes. Lost his company at Time Warner. I was like, oh,
yes, he did.
That's funny.
Speaking of Ted Turner, because this thing kind of leads up to it, our favorite liar / brother, Hulk Hogan, he said something interesting in this documentary around the steroid trial, that he was basically granted immunity if he would have went up there and shit on Vince, basically. I don't know how true that is. You know who we were dealing with here, but that was just an interesting tidbit too. What are y'all thoughts on that?
If it is true, I believe it. I mean, like, that's not surprising. We're talking about Terry here, Big T, all right? The man added more time to the time spectrum based on his flights from Japan, okay?
It's impressive.
I don't believe anything he says, so yeah.
That's fair.
He also
Yeah,
said
like,
he never
it's
used
hard for me to
steroids.
believe that the federal government would like put Terry up there to say, hey, Vince directed you to give steroids, and not know the answer if they gave him immunity.
That part.
I've seen the federal government be arrogant in cases before, but that's the level of arrogance, you know. But then also, you think about it like, well, the feds haven't come after Vince for anything else. And a good way to get the feds off your case is to beat them in a case, because they're not going to get embarrassed twice.
True. And I mean, and the only thing that makes me think that what Hogan said may have some levity to it is the fact that when you break down that case the way that at least they did on this documentary, that they didn't really have a case in the beginning to begin with, as far as Vince's stake in everything.
Yeah. I think they just assumed that this was the case. And
yes.
I like, they were like, well, everybody's using steroids. And Vince likes steroids. Vince hires these people. He must give them steroids. It's like, no. But he does also purchase steroids from the people. He never encouraged them to use it. He's just like, shit. Because he's super competitive. So that's why he's like, I'll juice up with you. And everybody who's ever like talked about Vince, particularly his gym prowess, like they speak about it often. He's always been like a physique guy. I thought that was actually pretty cool that they showed him when he was younger, because he actually was kind of jacked. I was like, all right, Vince. It wasn't just the roids. You wasn't getting no roids back in the 50s. Like that's how he pulled Linda. He pulled up on Linda. She was a conservative. He was like, flex some muscles. I'm a bad boy. And she was like, oh,
I get
what?
fights.
Right. She's like, oh, you about to fight tonight to knock that
My daddy has
out.
money.
Right. Big money. And shit, that's why he liked her, because she was from money. He wasn't. He was broke at the time. So fascinating. That's why I think they just thought that these things would stick, and the arrogance of like, oh, well, these wrestlers are idiots, and we are gonna put, you know, I'm sure they kind of laid it in on Hogan, and Hogan was like, you know what, I'll just say this and I'll lean this way, and then again, the best liar in the game. Can't be mad for getting got. So he did the lies and then set it up this way. Counterplay. Got the ass.
Trap card.
Yep.
You activated my trap card, brother. Yeah.
He said, what? Weakens U.S. government by 50 billion points.
Hulk Hogan is Yugi.
For real.
I'm not editing that.
No, that has to stay in.
Hulk-yo.
Hulk-yo, brother.
Hulk-yo.
Hulk Hogan uses his beard spray. Bandana.
What would his pendant be?
A leg drop.
It was just him doing a leg drop?
Racism.
Not with my
Hogan
daughter.
used racism.
Not with my daughter.
Super effective.
Right.
Oh,
So
man.
speaking of Terry, can we talk about how he just admitted to snitching on the wrestlers trying to get the union together?
Oh, Jesse Ventura.
Jesse, thank you.
Proudly.
Yeah, with Jesse Ventura.
Oh yeah, I went straight to Vince. I was like, yo, that's
I was holding it down, brother.
And that's why
blatant admission
Your
of
local
snitching I've
neighborhood
ever heard in my
snitch.
life.
I wish he would have talked about more along the lines of why he went straight to Vince, because the reason, at least as it's told on Legend, is because Vince was getting the biggest payday out of everybody, and that's the reason why he went to Vince. If he wasn't getting
a pay cut,
exactly. If he wouldn't have did something or took one for the team and just shut his fucking mouth, who knows what would have happened? But Terry gone Terry.
He might not have had to pay for all those surgeries he's had on his own, possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good call
But
there.
maybe he wouldn't have a Hogan's Hangout.
Or Hogan Knows Best would have never been a thing.
Yeah. Or Brooke Knows Best. Maybe she did.
or all
but he
those
didn't
wonderful
trust
albums she made.
And I mean, you know,
Right, with
if
Paul
we don't get
Wall.
Hogan Knows Best, we don't get Hogan rapping Young Jeezy. So one is on the table, one is on the floor.
Then they say, "Oh, that was fire, brother. Let me turn that, start that over."
That's one of my favorite scenes in reality show history. Is him bobbing his head. I love it.
Ever.
It's
I was like, you guys are telling me something.
You should
You've never
YouTube
seen that clip,
Listening
right?
to,
You should YouTube that one.
I think you're gonna have to start the pod with that.
Fair
Hulk
enough.
Hogan listening to I Love It from Young Jeezy is one of the greatest clips in television history.
I do love it, brother.
Because he restarts it 6 times just so he can learn the hook on his drive. It is so fun.
Table, putting on the floor.
You know he's dropping
send it right
inbounds.
now. Let me look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Facts.
You already know.
With that said, yeah, that was an interesting time, and that wasn't that around so to set up for people who aren't aware, he was doing this around WrestleMania 2, right before WrestleMania 2, where Vince was in a pinch. WrestleMania 1 was uber successful. They did everything with Cyndi Lauper and all this shit, and what's his name? I forget his name.
Which
Whoever.
guy?
Doesn't.
Mr.
Captain Bob Bono, Insano. I don't know. Shout out to him. But regardless.
Oh, Lou Albano.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Captain Lou.
So disrespectful. But
Captain Albano is crazy.
Balbado. Insado. He called this nigga Captain Insado from fucking Waterboy.
well, I mean, Captain Insano takes no prisoners. He shows no
Captain
mercy.
Sage is my favorite wrestler.
How old are you, little boy? I'm 38 years old.
Great scene.
Yeah.
Shout out to
but-
Vicky Valancourt.
Big. Regardless, wrong pot. We were seeing this success from WrestleMania 1, then WrestleMania 2. They had literally revved up everything. And Vince, being a workaholic, made that the priority of everyone. They said they worked 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
That's crazy.
That sounds about right, because we've seen a lot of that now. But back then they was doing that. They revved up. People worked injured because they couldn't get paid. They were on the sheets. So you only get paid when you are not injured. And everybody's working injured. Everybody's still working through just to make sure they're on the show. And Jesse the Body had proposed, guys, if we hold him over and form a union right now, just before WrestleMania 2, and deal with walkouts, he has no choice. They would have broke him. It was before it was too big to fail. So Hogan's interference, I know y'all speculated because he was getting the most money. I still think it's like he was so, I mean that, and I think he felt like he owed Vince like everything, because he was like, they were saying that during the doc, oh, Vince did this for me. He basically fed me the things, and whether I thought it was stupid or not, I did it and it worked. And he was like, oh, well, I gotta tell this nigga everything. So he was like, oh, not on my watch, brother. Vince, brother.
Yeah.
They're trying to strike, brother. And Vince was like, quash that shit, and turned them niggas on infighting. It was crazy. It was
Man,
like
he's a toxic
the fall.
motherfucker, man.
It was. That's great. And then blamed it on them.
Toxic.
Oh, they were never gonna really strike.
Yeah.
You know, they just were talking shit.
They weren't gonna listen to Jesse.
Yeah. Until
Guy's
Tony
crazy.
Atlas just walks in and said, he came in there and had a meeting with each one of us individually and said, you know what? If you go there, you're fired. And then everybody gave everybody something to think about. And at that time, he was like, yeah, you know they weren't gonna do it anyway, but if you do it, you're fired. So he already made it feel like this wasn't even a real possibility. But if it was, and your goofy ass show up, you gonna be the one without the job, and everybody undercutting you because they want your spot. It was some sick twisting of everything, and people fell for it, and here we are now. To this day, no unionized work. Thankfully, they started getting holidays off. We didn't need a Miracle on 34th Street fight every year.
You sure?
I mean, I'm trying to enjoy my family. I'm not even watching those terrible ass wrestling matches and shit that they will put on. And
you want to watch them throw empty boxes at each other?
Fucking Thanksgiving fights.
Stone Cold catch a stunner?
All right.
No. Kofi claws. No. not on my scheduled appointed viewing. So
you don't want to see the gobbledygooker? No.
Oh yeah.
No.
Gobbledygook. Survivor Series. But no, E-Ray, you bring up some good points about like how that Renaissance period, and not only just that, you brought up WrestleMania 2. They gave so many details. I guess because this is all like early in Vince's career, so all this stuff kind of sticks out to him. I'm sure it's not like just any other WrestleMania. These first 3, but WrestleMania 2 almost like didn't even happen, like because they had all these different. It had hosting it in different cities. And the only reason why that they did that was because I believe Starrcade was doing something similar like that. They did something similar like that with Crockett, and Vince was like, "We doing that shit too," but it just was a little too big for their britches. But that was an interesting story about that back in the day stuff. But to jump more towards a period of time that we're all more familiar with here on this podcast, the Attitude Era. Yeah. So they didn't really like it was. This is where like you hear some stuff like the Owen conversation was very good. I feel like
Can we
you got
talk about
some
that
real.
for a second?
Oh yeah, we can get into it.
Oh Jesus! All right.
We got into some real.
This is where I thought was very interesting. The Owen stuff, all from the screw job on, I thought like that was very interesting. That, and again, it's a documentary, so they're telling a story, but they're using people's perspective or accounts to do so. So they had Brett, and if you talk to Brett would undoubtedly tell you, hey, he absolutely punished Owen because I left. You talk to Vince, he's like, no, I didn't punish Owen. I gave him the spotlight, so I broke him down to build him up, because that's what you would do to somebody who's going to be a big star. You have to give them these spots, and I think both are right.
That's interesting.
I could see both, because we've seen that before. We're like, damn, they're doing this and they're doing that, and then they kind of turn the corner and that person be the biggest star you've ever seen. So
I think what Brett doesn't understand about it is like they gave Owen this chance because they had him doing comedy things and they were breaking him down because they know that Owen had the charisma to do it, because Brett is a charisma vacuum.
I knew he was.
Brett doesn't understand that breakdown to build up. Brett's like, I just go out there and I do my art, because according to him, it's art now.
Hey,
I am an artiste.
Yeah.
He was cool.
Fries in the bag, bro.
Hey, enough Bret Hart slander on this show. God damn it, not on this show.
No, I don't want to see videos of your sharpshooter. Just please give me the bag.
Hey, you hate it, because him and Sean, they was going crazy.
Oh,
Them
yeah.
matches are great by today's standard.
No, they are.
Just saying. And it takes two to tango, so
No.
So congratulations, Shawn
Shawn
Michaels. Yeah.
Hey,
Great job, HBK.
No, y'all not gonna shit on Brett like that. We're not doing that here this season, folks.
Great job, HBK. You brought all the charisma and you brought half of the greatness of the match. So you are 3/4.
3/4. Yeah.
What? Yeah. Okay, moving the fuck on, because that's ridiculous. 3/4?
I mean, because Brett brought zero charisma, so
no,
Sean had to bring charisma
it.
for two people.
He had an entrance and like sunglasses.
And tassels on his jacket. Okay.
Yeah. He had good punches.
He came out, handled business, put a show on in the ring, and went home. And he made everybody look good that he danced with in the ring.
How do we
made everybody look good that he gets on the mic too, because he was so bad.
You know they had to do this. Getting back to Owen again. The fact that with Owen's whole push, I never thought about them both being right. That's interesting. I never looked at it like that. I thought Vince was like, Bret Hart thinks that his shit don't stink so bad that I'm gonna go out of my way to make his brother look bad. That's not what I was doing at all, because that's how Vince kind of took it when they brought it up. Like, Bret, of course Bret thinks that I was trying to get at him. Like, the ego.
Which, I mean, but let's keep it real. That's exactly what we would think.
Yes.
If we were, like, put yourself in both people's shoes, it makes sense. I would absolutely, because, again, let's think about this. We've all been in relationships, I would say, I believe. I know Dub is from the streets, so who knows?
Hey,
but
the streets is wild.
When you've broken up with a partner, or a partner has broken up with you, whether again, specifically in the social media age, when you see them doing something, you're like, oh, this bitch trying to show me.
I'm show her.
Or vice versa, you doing something, and you watching your story, whatever the case may be. That is, like, it's perspective. So everybody thinks, because we're self-centered, we think that, oh, this is for me, not that they're moving on or whatever the case may be.
Just living, yeah.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, no, that person just wanted to go have dinner. Oh, well, you trying to show it off now.
Right. No, you think you is eat dinner with people. I'll show you.
Oh, you got the nerve to have some fun after me?
Oh, this bitch never went to Cheesecake Factory with me.
Right.
Yeah.
What you doing smiling, bitch? What's going on here?
Right. Or look at him trying to dress up now. He ain't never, all he wanted to do was wear sweats when he was with me. He wore the same sweats for 7 days. Like, oh, okay, well, yeah.
Yeah.
What happens?
It's acceptable.
I wear clothes sometimes when I have to do stuff. Yeah, again, this is how it will operate with Vince and a Bret. Bret would think everything you do or outside of there is a slight, and we've seen it. But then because let's put it in more modern times, I think Lana and Rusev would probably have a similar thought process in that, and I think Vince would say the same thing. Like, I'm breaking Lana down to the crowd because they despise her, to then build her back up, similar to their approach to Maxine Dupree. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this, and you're gonna shit on you in the ring and all that stuff. And somebody else could have looked at that like, oh gosh, they're really doing, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it could work either way. So that's all I'm saying. I think that would be interesting. So just my thoughts on it.
So Bret saw what was happening with Owen and then put himself over in his own mind. Like, this is only happening to Owen because of me.
If I would have stayed, he would have never been doing this to Owen. He wouldn't even been thinking about Owen. Like, it's kind of crazy.
He ain't lying, though. That's the thing. He ain't lying.
Two things can be true.
If that's what happened, then yeah.
Like, it gives you a lot to think about. And then on top of a lot, it gives you a lot to think about. The night Owen passed, Vince said some interesting things around that event. And I think the direct quote, and correct me if I'm wrong, was people didn't pay to see some guy get splattered on the mat. And he wanted to, and something around the show must go on, and wanting people to still get what they paid for, something around those lines. Some would say that was a bit insensitive. Some would say that's business. Fellas, what's y'all take on that quote?
So I think as he expounded upon it, saying like, you know, the lights were out and the crowd didn't see it, then like that quote makes more sense. Because he said like, you know, had the crowd seen it, you shut the show down immediately. Yeah. And I was like, all right.
And that's when he said the splatter part.
Yeah.
It's like, you shut this down because people didn't pay their money to watch someone die and get splattered on the ring.
Like, it still sounds crazy the way he said it, but he wasn't wrong. And like,
that don't sound crazy. But then again.
But that was also in response to, hey, why didn't you stop the show? Like, out of respect for him, like, hey, this guy just died. He's thinking of it more as business versus literally everybody else is taking it from a more personal standpoint. So
yeah, that's the hard
Vince
part.
McMahon, yeah, everyone else can feel personal for themselves. Vince McMahon has a lot of things to think about and took it as business. So we got the business answer.
And I think he did kind of benefit from this not being the social media age where, you know, news happens like that. because
Or
like
footage happens like that.
footage or what I'm saying, like the news of the passing, like because they knew mid-show that Owen had died, but you know they didn't let the boys know at all. The boys were just like, we praying for him. He's already on the crossroads.
Yeah, man.
I thought people did end up, well, not fully, but I think word did get out because then they were showing like Jeff Jarrett and Deborah, and you could tell he's sitting there trying to talk about puppies, and they're both just like,
Jeff Jarrett's interview was right after it happened. So Jeff was like visually shaken up, like, what just happened to one of my best friends? Like, they didn't pronounce him till like after Jarrett's match. The fact that they still went to Jeff Jarrett for a backstage interview right after that happened is insane.
True.
The fact that his DNA was still in the ring, all splattered across it, was insane.
Yes.
That's something I did not know. So
He
that
broke the
to
ring,
me, I was like, wow, because they showed The Rock's match, they showed Undertaker's match, and you seen like them like selling right next to a bloody spot on the ring, and I'm like, oh, that made it feel different to me. Like I've never thought about that in that way. Like, oh man, that sucks. That was a terrible accident. Blah blah. But to see like exactly what happened and how, I was like, oh. And then each person still like waves of it happening. I was like, okay, I'll again, I'm less in that space. Like I'm not sensitive to these things, but I see where Dub was coming from a bit. Now I was like, yeah, that's rough for them. I was imagining like still working while like the person next to you just died, like in your cubicle. Like, yeah, about that.
Yeah, like if you know the person like died next to you in your cubicle, that's different. But guys blow out their MCLs in practice all the time. They move practice 10 yards down the field and they keep shit moving. And that kind of how Vince did it.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about us as Americans, but it's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, it's more of a Vince thing, but yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
You don't think that's America? I think it's America.
I mean, DeMar Hamlin died on the field for like 10 seconds and they shut that game down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
But to your point of the age that we live in, though, I think that's why that happened, though, Dub. If this was the NFL of the 1980s, that game's still getting played. I'm sorry.
They putting that nigga on the tarp and on the sideline and
for real
lining the ball back up.
They holding his hand up with the thumbs up to make to
pretty much. They making his fingers show the thumb. Yeah, not him himself. He's good, y'all. Let's play some football.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh shit! That's so many jokes.
He's okay, isn't he?
Bernie's in Buffalo.
They will throw his helmet on with the visor so they don't know if he's alive or dead.
I'm about to say you gotta put the sunglasses, the visor.
Why isn't he talking? Oh, he just has his mouthpiece in. That's all.
They just string him up to two other guys. Move left, block left.
Put him on the O-line.
Why is DeMar playing such deep safety and not moving?
No, that's part 2. He was a special teams player in Weekend at Weekend Part 1.
Weekend at Goodell's.
Right. Part 2 is when he starts playing strong. So he actually starts playing his position, playing free safety and shit. That's where it gets crazy.
That's nuts.
He's like possessed by voodoo, just like Birdie was. That's how he's able to play.
Oh my god.
I'm sad at how we
Is it Papa Shango?
I forgot all about that. Insanity, to say the least.
We're going to hell.
No, in a handbasket, my friend. With that being said,
Tough titties guy.
Another thing is we kind of move along through the Attitude Era, just kind of hitting the high spots of the doc. At this point, in the Ruthless Aggression era, we had the Chris Benoit incident. Vince said some interesting things about. Yeah, that was Ruthless Aggression, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was 06. So
yeah, Sean, you gotta own that.
Yeah. That was your era, Wiseman.
Because that was the SmackDown 6. All that is Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
I remember that. Yeah.
We go back through the time frame in which that all happened, and Vince literally doing a act where he act like he killed himself, and he didn't, of course.
That's what I remember most from that.
I remember that
like
too.
as a kid. I was like, blew up the next week. Sorry to regret. I'm alive. Because and this I was like, oh, that's different.
Yeah, it was. If you weren't watching wrestling at the time, if you saw that headline about Vince McMahon dying, you popped on Raw that next time to see what was going on. But we saw him standing in an empty ring talking about Chris Benoit and what he had did, terrible things that he had did.
Well, no, they did not know what he had did yet. All they had was Chris Benoit had passed away.
So that's when they gave him the tribute show.
So they gave him a tribute show, which you cannot find on any streaming platforms anymore because they have ripped that shit from the face of the planet.
Really?
You can find so many other things.
You can find a lot of shit, but
you can't find
official streaming platforms, the Chris Benoit tribute show is gone.
Interesting.
Out of there. Yep. So they did not know what he had did to his family or himself. They just had the news that he was dead. So that's why that tribute show aired.
Yep. And
makes sense.
Looking back after the events that happened, Vince has said some interesting things around the Benoit stuff. Fellas, help me out here. What was it exactly that he said in this documentary? There was something that rubbed some people the wrong way. Can't remember exactly what he said. But as far as them covering it, because they had to talk about it. This is something that Vince couldn't ignore. What y'all think of the coverage of it in the documentary? Y'all think it was just, or they could have added some more in there?
I think it was good because they covered everything about him specifically, then went into what happened to him, and then went into the actual specifics about CTE and, Vince hiring a doctor to come explain it to the roster and, all this shit. So I think it was covered adequately in my opinion. I didn't even think it would get this much coverage, to be honest.
I think the way Vince talked about it, like the CTE part of it, it sounded like Vince hired a doctor thinking the doctor was just going to agree with him. And the doctor pulled a Hogan on the stand and was like, nah, this shit real. And Chris Benoit has the worst brain we've ever seen since we've been studying this. And then you get to the craziness of Stone Cold saying, yeah, I'm just not a CTE guy, brother. I don't believe in it. And you're like, what? And then
Texas versus Science is definitely at one of the WrestleManias. I don't know which one. WrestleMania 22. It was like Vince versus God.
Yeah, and Vince won.
That was
Science
Backlash. That was Backlash that year.
So Science versus Texas.
Yep.
Science versus Texas. Book it. All right.
But what Vince
them Stone Cold comments.
And then didn't Hogan say he didn't believe in CTE either?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Or am I just subscribing to my hate for Hogan?
You might just be throwing some sauce on Hogan's body. like marinara. Yeah, like marinara.
Ghost pepper hate. All right, you got it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he said some crazy shit. I mean, I couldn't imagine him not believing in CTE. He has so many spine surgeries. He literally says that he flew back in time because he flew so much going back and forth through Japan. He said he used to be like 6'9", 6'8". Now he's like 6'5" because his spine with leg
because
drop.
of compression, yeah.
Which there is some scientific evidence that maybe not that, but he would be a little bit shorter because of injuries, and as you get older, you start to shrink again. So it's possible.
6'9".
You just hate Hogan, so you just saying it.
That's insane.
And
6'9" to 6'3" is crazy. My spine was long. They just had to take off 6 inches of spine.
Just saw
but he
right
still
off
can walk.
Like, you have a millimeter of spinal issue and you're paralyzed for life. He's saying he lost 6 inches of spine.
You don't need those
spine, not
6
like
inches. You don't need. Those are
Due to
6 inches you don't
injury
need.
It's
and
the whole
air
spine.
cabin pressure.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's it. You guys didn't know you
my
don't need
dude.
6 inches on your spine? You can live without it. Walk just fine. Y'all didn't know that?
It was just fine.
Yeah, like nothing
Well,
happened.
you gonna be Christopher Reeves. Don't do that.
Stem cells.
Don't do that.
Right? Those stem cells. But I found the quote that Vince made around the Chris Benoit stuff that was kind of controversial. He was talking about correlating steroids with what happened to Benoit. He says, quote, "There is no correlation between taking steroids and what happened to Chris Benoit. Human beings are flawed. Chris went nuts. It happens in every form of life and everything. So that's the only thing I can take away from it." So trying to say that the
That's
steroids.
who said that?
Vince. That was the quote that he said about the Chris Benoit stuff.
I mean, sounds all right.
Even though roid rage has been a scientifically proven thing for decades. And then
But
you add
somebody
that
who
in
was-
with all the CTE. Okay, you got it then.
Somebody who was accused of selling roids probably wouldn't think that. Somebody
exactly.
who was a big proponent of roids.
True.
He
I mean,
loved
I get it, E.
I wouldn't want to hurt
I
my
took it
business
myself.
either. Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
I get it, E. I watch Dope Sick too. I get it. You know, when you selling this dope, you can't say it's bad for people. I get it.
Yeah, bro, you gotta you boost your product. You can't do that.
Yeah, you gotta tell them.
It's a really
up the
good
dose.
drug.
Yeah.
Up the dose.
Up the dose. Put some in me. I'll go wrestle God.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll go wrestle God.
G.
What did he said a crazy bar leading up to that stuff with Shawn Michaels. He was like, "My life, I'm insatiable for life. I can never get enough."
What
You
are
talking
you
about the
thinking
promo he
about
cut in the
right?
church?
What are you
Yes.
thinking about right now, sir? Thinking about doing something sexual.
He did. He said,
Yeah,
I have the largest appetite for sex. I have the largest appetite for winning, life, and all this other shit." Like he was wilding out.
Okay, I don't want to do this, but I think I have to. Anytime I find parallels or draw correlation to myself and somebody, I have to just speak on it.
Ooh, okay.
It is what it is. He did say one thing that I was like, "Ooh, that's me. I hate it," but it's true. He was like, when I don't get like this big euphoria from winning, because I expect it. That's me in a nutshell. I don't get excited from winning. I expect to win. I get really angry and volatile from losing because it's just unacceptable. I get very angry. So it's one of those things. It's kind of it's one of those things, those ticks with certain people. I think Kobe definitely was
Kobe
another
Bryant,
guy.
Michael Jordan, Vince McMahon.
Yeah, it's
Ethan Griffin.
it's a sickness.
Psychopaths.
And it's something that carries over. It does, like, I think I channel mine vastly different. I channel it in life, not like
Oh,
work.
both vastly different.
Well, I mean, maybe not. But then Vince, maybe, yeah, sure. But even Vince, I don't think his channeling it was in the sickness. I think it was everything else. Because he was like, this just comes along with winning. Because he's just enjoying the spoils because he's a sicko. But the winning drove, or the expecting to win is like, every idea I have is good. And I should be able to accomplish this, and I'm going to do this. And it works. He doesn't feel like, create another superstar. He's like, of course, because that makes sense. That's why when the product was bad, he always felt like, these people don't know what you're talking about. Or we can always pivot. He was already ready for that. I was like, I think my brain functions in a similar fashion, more so though, just hyper focused on losing and being upset with losing versus winning. Like, winning gives me nothing. It feels like, okay, great, next week. You're just ready for the next thing. I think that's a sick thing that I wish I could enjoy more victory. Like more people when they're so happy, like, yeah, whatever. Next. And that's a sick thing, but it amused me. And I was like, all right, Vince, you still sick. You still sick bastard.
Sick bastard, yeah.
But
I'll match you there.
shout out to you there. I get you. I understand you on that level. And when you're saying some, never mind.
E-Ray, you bring up some good topics. Good topic to bring into the next kind of part I wanted to get y'all take on around Mr. McMahon, not just the title of the doc, but the character itself of Vince versus Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the man versus the character. As we all like to talk about living the gimmick, so to speak. Vince McMahon lived his gimmick to the T. Back in the day, some used to say that my Uncle Ted used to be the version of what Vince created. That Ted DiBiase was just Vince McMahon. That's all that he was. That's why they like that. That's why he liked that character, because it was just, what if Vince was a wrestler? Ted DiBiase. So now we went from that to when we got into Attitude Era and beyond, the Mr. McMahon character, which started as like a legitimate authority figure, and then it turned into this whole other thing as far as what he became over the years. So the interesting thing to me with that Mr. McMahon versus Vincent Kennedy McMahon is that when Vince was asked about if he blurs the lines between the two, he said, "Oh, they're not. They're completely different people. I don't want you to know the real me." And when they asked everybody else that sat down on that damn
same
interview,
person. Yeah.
the
Same guy. No difference. Yeah.
Crazy to me, man. But I get it. I get it. As a man that's had to live the gimmick on this show, on these shows, plural. Yeah, I understand. I don't think I know that. I know I'm the man the gimmick represents at times, and sometimes in my life inappropriate points. But hey, we're not gonna talk about it.
As he brings it up. Oh yeah. But we ain't.
No,
Thanks,
we're not
man.
getting into it. This isn't Mr. BA.
Thanks,
this
BA,
is Mr. McMahon.
Mr. BA. Sorry.
This is that part.
I wish I could tell you all these stories. What's up, one? Can't even do it.
Not on this podcast. That's definitely a Patreon exclusive. Let me tell you, brother.
That's a BA level Patreon exclusive.
Absolutely.
BA.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
we are 1 hour and 9 minutes into the pod, and BA put himself over.
I was trying to hold off, but I knew this segment I was gonna have no choice but to. So with that being said, man, what do y'all feel is the reason why Vince doesn't believe he's not this character? Like, it's quite obvious. Well, denial. What else? What else is there? Like, because I mean, outside of him denying it because he knew what was going on in the background before the things got blown up, why else would he deny it?
I mean, everything I've heard about Vince is that Vince doesn't actually like live in reality. So I think that's it 100%. Because like, if the whole world's calling you insane, then you probably are. You know. But
I mean, to quote a retired rapper, if you're the only one real, you're the only one fake.
oh,
So I think there is a level to that. I've had discussions about that before as well. I thought actually very interesting. I do not like these parallels that just keep coming up. Yeah. Where's my egg? It's interesting. I think if you live a certain type of lifestyle where you're comfortable with nobody really knowing you, and you put on this facade, let's say, and not necessarily like for insecurity purposes. There's different reasons to be like to put on a facade. But what if you are? Sometimes you're just this person, that person, or I'm this person to this person. This energy makes me this person, etc., so forth. Then everyone's going to have a different recollection of who you are because it's who you are to them. So when people see Vince and he's like, again, that's a piece of it. I also do believe, similar to Dub, pure delusion. Because again, he's I would never say anything like that. Bruce Pritchard. Vince, you said it to me yesterday. That's not coincidence. That is definitely him spazzing out and then you're like, oh yeah, I would never do that. No, you would, and you. But have.
You wrote it for your character to say.
Right, just like firing old girl, then hiring her back after she sued the company and just writing it into the show. We know this by now. Vince as Edge and Matt Hardy and Lita. anything that's going on in the show and he gets wind of it, he's writing that shit in there. Sasha and who is it? Sasha and not
Naomi?
Carmella. No, Sasha and Alexa Bliss.
Oh yeah, they're beef.
Oh yeah, he found out they didn't actually like each other.
And was like, run this shit back every week for 6 months. He that's because he's like, oh, there's something there. There's something real y'all can pull from. But y'all will be like, how should I say, respectful, or y'all will be professional enough to get it done. But yeah, they did not like each other. We've seen it time and time again, countless times of different people working with each other and forcing it to happen. So I personally think, yeah, this is literally Vince being delusional, partly, and then people just, meeting certain parts of him. So I really don't know who would you say knows him fully? Because, I mean, that's a great question. Who do y'all think knows y'all fully?
I'd say even significant other does not know the full BA extravaganza, and I could say she's had to learn some things the hard way. So yeah, that's understandable.
And if that's not the closest person to you, or if that is the closest person to you, and they don't know you, then who the fuck knows you?
It's true.
That's the crazy part. Like, we all are. I think a great majority of people are compartmentalized or segmented. So yeah, I think Vince is no different. It's just even on a grander stage because he's been exposed to so many people. So again, I'm not advocating for the devil here. It's just some of this stuff isn't like so far-fetched to me because it's just like, oh yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think I would say Stephanie probably knows him the best just because she's had so many different types of interactions with him. I think so. She's like, it's Dad, and then there's Mr. McMahon, and it's like those two are here and here, but sometimes this one will kick on, like, because it's the showman in them and the thought process, the wheels get to turning. So yeah, I could see that.
It's good points there, man. Yeah, I thought that would be a good question just because, as all of us, we're all of this podcast game, and we all have our characters that we bring to the table. So I thought that would resonate with some of us for sure. And lastly, to close out this extravaganza, what in the hell is this old man's legacy? Like, what is Vince McMahon? Yeah, it's a tough one.
Like now, or
I'd coin it this way: pre disclosures and NDAs coming out, and post disclosures and NDAs coming out. Let's go with the easier question: the pre of the NDAs.
Pre-NDAs, like, is general perception or mine?
Yours.
My perception pre-NDAs, just the rich ass nigga who created a whole subgenre of professional wrestling that expanded and made it into a cultural phenomenon and mainstreamed it. That's what I thought about him before.
What about
NDAs and shit like that?
What about the after the NDAs? The hard
some of the
question.
shit that I read, that's rough, man, because
Yeah.
I can't say it's like a
nasty.
joke per se now, but it's like one of those black thoughts you just keep in the back of your head that you
I
just
was like, it's like a what?
that you just keep in the back of your head. You don't really want to bring up. It's like, okay, yeah, when he's mentioned, yeah, that happened. Keep him over there. As of now, so that's why we referred to him as Mr. Redacted a lot of times, because you just got to keep Vince over there, man.
WWE they learned.
He's in the Diddy zone right now. He's in the Diddy zone.
The Diddy zone. It's crazy.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right.
Dangerous place to be.
Welcome to the Diddy zone.
Ew.
Dub.
Yeah, Dub, what you got to say?
I think just like the whole thing with Vince, even before and after the allegations, is genius and a madman. Like they say, the line between genius and insanity is razor thin, and you see that. But like you look at Vince and you're like, before the NDAs, you could say he was a genius and he was a madman. After the NDAs and all the allegations, he's still a genius, but then you have even more proof of how much of a madman he was. And he was not a madman in the Joker type of way. He's more of a madman in the Law and Order SVU worst case ever saw type of way.
Oh my
Still
God.
a
Ice-T, get
madman,
on the
but
ground
he's still a
type of
genius
way.
for the other
Yeah.
things that he did. Like that's what he is. And you look at a guy who took this carny business and turned it into a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, and you're like, you got to be a special breed of human being to do that. And we found out that special is one part, creative storyteller, one part nasty motherfucker.
Big nasty.
He's creating from life. Art imitates life, imitating art, imitating life. Apparently,
He's the
that
he's
line
the
is beyond blurred.
yeah, I would say, to quote another former rapper, name one genius that ain't crazy. It goes hand in hand. I think to be on the planet with however many billions of other entities and to see things as they are, as a status quo, as a societal norm, and then go, nah, I think this should be this way. To watch all the water flowing down this way, and you're like, nah, I think it should go that way. It takes somebody who is literally crazy, because you have to be a little bit crazier. That's just how it works. Outside of that, trying to think here. I think prior to the allegation, I thought Vince was a crazy, nasty man. Like that's my thought process of who he is. He just is nasty. He's crazy. He's larger than life personality, and I've been witness to the product that he's put on for years, and it's good times and then the not so good. So I'm like, oh, what is going on with this? But that was always my thought. And then now it's like, oh, I just have details to the nasty. So it was a placeholder. Now I know what it is. So again, still crazy, nasty man. Just like, oh, now that likes black and such. So I don't know, whatever. He's just one of those types. It's like, this dude is crazy. But
Silicone chic.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just added that for some flair, for some spice, some sauce on it. But wizardry. Yeah. I think either way, his legacy is going to go down in history as being something epic, but also like infamous.
That's fair. Epic and infamous is definitely the words to describe Vince pre and post NDAs. But I'd have to say, as far as the pre-NDA stuff, man, when I think about how just that death grip he had on creative and how he wasn't letting, oh yeah, that's a terrible choice of words. But the fact that the hold he had on control of the control of the WWE, and how just he wasn't willing to listen, and just how much of a, what's the word I can look for to describe the hostile environment that he created, it sounded like, from a lot of the talent.
I think that's the hostile work environment.
Yeah, that's I was. Thank you. I was trying to grab it, but I grabbed it. But
all right, Vince.
God damn.
I was trying to grab it, but then I grabbed it.
Death grip.
Got it. My cold dead hands.
Stab me up the chest like a shaft.
What?
Grab my chic again. Chic, baby.
Stab me with shaky, baby.
You're not bad enough. Oh man.
That's crazy.
You can't deny how to the point of what you said, E-Ray, the man is a genius, and everyone else that said it. It can't be denied. He took a lot of risk that should have had him on his face a lot of different times as far as the wrestling business goes. The man completely went against the grain to make this whole subgenre of wrestling, to Wiseman's point, of sports entertainment. This is not his daddy's wrestling, as I'm sure his daddy would tell him as he saw him doing what he was doing, as he gave up reigns and stuff. So you can't take that from him. Even so, like the man helped, like he was the guy that created Hulkamania. We talk about Terry and we talk about what he represents as far as just being who and what he is, but at the end of the day, like, that was Vince, and Hulk Hogan was just the figure of it all, the figurehead. So you got to give him respect, because nobody would like the insanity that was Hulkamania. And we only saw, as far as me, E-Ray, and Dub, we saw the tail end of it as far as when we can remember. I just remember hearing about it through my uncle and my cousin, about how just batshit crazy they were about it, Hulk Hogan and shit like that. So you got to give a man his props for that type of stuff. On the other side of it,
with the character that was an undead mortician cowboy and made it a cultural icon. Like,
true. The Taker was his second Hulkamania. In all honesty, when you think about it, like, 'cause Taker is timeless.
Technically, it was his first, or Hulkamania was his. I don't know how to say it, but because
I think I know where you're going.
Think that the Undertaker is more popular than Hulkamania, because it survived 40 years.
True.
Hulkamania was the height, and it hit heights that it did. It's kind of like comparing 50 Cent and Rick Ross' career. Rick Ross never hit the heights that 50 did, but he's had that longevity. And of course, I'm not gonna do that there, but it's just sometimes people hit that height, and then it's like, all right, they hit such a height and they're burning so bright that people get sick of it. Like, you winning too much. You're doing this, and it's like, okay, we don't want you no more. And then second act, NWO, that's the movies and it's no more music anymore, but people just like 50 Cent versus the person who stayed in wrestling, Undertaker, i.e. Rick Ross, and just keeps making music people like to hear, because he never burned so bright that he burnt out, but he never fell off.
That's fair.
So the NWO is power.
Yes, the power verse.
Jesus.
Absolutely.
Oh man, and then post NDA,
So it got
man.
good, and then it went bad. Just like NWO, what Sean mentioned, his remembrance of DX and NWO, when Shawn Michaels was in it, was like, wait, what?
Gross.
That's Power Force, or whatever those extra spin-offs are. Yeah. It makes sense. This
Book
analogy
2.
works.
Yeah,
Raising
book 12.
Right,
Right,
Book of
Raising.
Canaan. That's NWO, Red and Black.
Raising
Shit like
Hogan.
that. Raising Terry.
Book of Terry. Yeah.
No,
of
Raising Canaan.
Book of Foley.
That's when they got them back both together. When it was like the red, white, black, and silver.
Oh, God.
Raising
NWO
Canaan is the
2000?
Jeff Jarrett NWO.
With Jeff Jarrett slapping
NWO
up.
2000 was gross. That we haven't even reviewed that on this show. Any of the NWO 2000 shit. That shit is bad.
That'll be nasty.
That is
I'm
big
cool on
nasty. But to cap it off, man, the as far as what I think about him post NDA, the stuff that hasn't come out yet is what I have to say I'm most afraid for, because I have a feeling that whatever they sitting on still, what we don't know about, is gonna be bad. It's gonna probably tarnish the legacy pre-NDAs for a lot of folks, as far as where to put him. But he's just a very convoluted, complicated place to put, or where to put him at. And I get it because of what he's done on a grand scale, but you can't deny as far as the graps what he's done either. So it's a very interesting thing. But Netflix didn't all things considered, that they left 6 hours of Vince McMahon footage on the cutting room floor because they couldn't hear his voice one day. They did a good job, all things considered, for what they were brought to work with. So shout out to them.
Puff piece, part gotcha piece, all McMahon.
It's a great way to put it.
Great way to way to just summarize that.
Yes, great way to put a pin in this one here, folks. So with that being said, we gonna be coming at y'all with some stuff, with some heat here soon. We got a watch along to release out to y'all here very, very soon. Of a classic Terry Bollea production that we'll just let y'all catch in the feeds. We won't speak on it. We'll just let y'all catch it as it comes.
Release this as a double feature.
Book of Bollea, brother.
Not a bad idea,
Wiseman.
Oh man. But we're gonna keep some more heat coming for y'all. We ain't been on the reviews tips in a minute, but we're gonna get back to it. And you already know y'all can catch us every Friday on the main show. Wiseman mixing, sometimes in there giving his take. All three of us there giving our takes and all that fun stuff every Friday. And then the Wiseman and BA show whenever the fuck we feel like dropping that shit, because that's what we do here on the BA and Wiseman show. So with that being said, we are out of here. Peace.